Boruto, 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 29 marks the moment when everything truly spirals out of control. What begins as a coordinated counterattack against Shinju Mamushi quickly reveals a far deeper danger, one rooted not just in overwhelming enemies, but in the choices Boruto himself is willing to make. With karma unleashed without restraint, alliances formed with devastating consequences, and Konoha fighting a war on multiple fronts, this chapter exposes a future balanced on a knife's edge. Power is no longer the real question, intent is. And as Boruto, Kawaki, and the village move forward at full speed, it becomes painfully clear that victory may come at a cost far greater than anyone is prepared to pay. Before we go any further, make sure you smash that subscribe button, drop a like, and flood the comments with your thoughts so we can keep this anime storytelling hype alive together. Alright, let's waste no time and jump straight into it. Here we go. Boruto, 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 29 is absolutely wild. The long-awaited major battle finally kicks off, forcing all sides to unite against Shinju Mamushi, a threat whose power is far more troublesome than it looks. Even though the heroes seem to have the numerical advantage, the situation is anything but safe. Shinju is clearly not done yet, and this chapter slowly unpacks just how dangerous things really are. Right from the cover, we're greeted by Boruto Uzumaki with his karma fully active, instantly setting the tone. This moment matters a lot, because the previous chapter confirmed that Boruto had finally freed himself from karma's usual restrictions. Visually, he looks sharper and far more intimidating, as if signaling that he stepped into a completely new tier. From there, the story zeroes in on a crucial question. How did Boruto strike a deal with Momoshiki, and why can he now use karma without limits? The answer comes through a flashback conversation between Boruto and Momoshiki. Boruto initiates the negotiation himself, asking to borrow Momoshiki's power. Momoshiki, naturally cynical, questions Boruto's resolve and brings up the ultimate price, handing over his body. Boruto doesn't hesitate. He states plainly that this is the only way they can defeat Chura. Because their minds are already linked, Momoshiki can sense that Boruto isn't lying. There's no deception, no hidden motive, just raw determination. Boruto then confronts Momoshiki with a harsh truth. Momoshiki himself has no future to look forward to. His existence is built on destruction and eventual erasure. But if he's freed, the outcome changes. Shinju is a shared enemy, one that threatens them both. That logic finally breaks through Momoshiki's resistance. Still, he recognizes the risk. Once Shinju falls, Kawaki will likely try to kill him. Boruto's response is simply a calm smile. Accepting that fate, Momoshiki agrees. With open hostility, he even declares that if he truly regains freedom, Kawaki will be his first target. Boruto then makes the terms clear: cooperation or nothing. The answer comes instantly. Karma manifests on Boruto's hand, sealing the agreement. From that moment on, Boruto is allowed to use karma freely, as long as it accelerates the destruction of their enemies. This revelation is shocking. Many expected Boruto to impose conditions, like forbidding Momoshiki from attacking Earth. But there are no such safeguards. Once Jura is defeated, Boruto's body will fully belong to Momoshiki. Boruto seems to be betting everything on Kawaki handling the aftermath. With no clear backup plan, the decision feels incredibly risky and loaded with uncertainty. The story then snaps back to the battlefield, where Boruto's presence feels completely different. With karma fully unleashed, he moves effortlessly and takes control of the fight. The action panels are intense and fluid. Mamushi's clones swarm him, taunting as they attack, but Boruto remains calm. A single, clean Rasengan is enough to erase one of them without any real struggle. Mamushi responds by multiplying his clones even further, but Boruto immediately shifts into tactical mode. He hurls shuriken directly at Mamushi's eyes, exploiting the Shinju's critical weakness, its vision. Once the main body loses sight, the entire battle swings in Boruto's favor. Using overwhelming speed, he strikes from multiple angles without giving Mamushi a chance to recover. In mere moments, the battlefield is cleared, Boruto cuts down the remaining clones with his sword, each strike precise and efficient. This sequence perfectly highlights how far he's come, not just in raw power, but in composure, strategy, and combat instinct. He's no longer just strong, he's refined. At this point, Boruto feels several levels above his former self. Already known as a skilled fighter, he now looks nearly unstoppable with Karma's boost and his new weapons. But the mission isn't over. Shikamaru sends him a brief message, warning him to check the 4 o'clock direction. 3 more targets remain, with 2 of them tailing the main unit. That warning leads into one of the chapter's biggest hype moments. Boruto opens his right eye, revealing his BYAKUGAN and using it to see through obstacles while tracking Mamushi's movements. Some fans may have hoped to see the Jogan, but for now, it's a standard BYAKUGAN. Still, watching Boruto actively use it mid-battle is impressive enough to stand out as a major highlight. With the BYAKUGAN's vision, Boruto pinpoints the targets instantly. Without hesitation, he throws a set of shuriken using a technique that feels very familiar, 2 acting as decoys so the main blade can curve toward the target, straight out of Sasuke's playbook. The execution is clean and satisfying, and the shuriken lands squarely in one Mamushi's head. Boruto doesn't stop there. He activates flying Raijin in an instant, warping directly into their position. The Mamushi barely have time to react. In one smooth motion, Boruto forms a massive Rasengan and slams it down, wiping out all 3 Mamushi in a single devastating blow. This final sequence leaves no room for doubt. Boruto's power, confidence, and control are on full display, and he's holding nothing back. This segment feels incredible because it truly highlights how far Boruto has come. Every move he makes is refined, efficient, and lethal, showing clear growth in both skill and mindset. Still, the situation is far from secure. Mamushi units are scattered throughout the village. Through the sensory network, Ino detects new movements and immediately reports that several Mamushi have entered Zone Z, while others are advancing through Southern Sector D. Shikamaru calmly confirms that he's already tracking their movements. He quickly contacts Team 10, ordering them to prepare for engagement in Southern Sector D. At the same time, he gives Boruto further instructions: move swiftly to other areas and, if possible, force the enemy toward the eastern side for a complete sweep. Boruto responds with a short, firm acknowledgement, making it clear the mission parameters are fully understood. The sector-based combat strategy is especially engaging. Facing enemies that can multiply endlessly forces the shinobi to slowly herd them into designated zones. This tactical approach makes Shikamaru's leadership stand out even more. Every enemy movement and troop deployment feels like part of a high-level strategy game, one perfectly suited to Shikamaru's analytical nature. The battle mirrors the board games he once mastered, where every move matters and every position carries weight. Because of that, this conflict allows Shikamaru's intellect to shine. However, the focus soon shifts to a group of 3 Mamushi who begin to sense that something is wrong. They notice their numbers have dropped dramatically in a very short time. One of them concludes that Boruto is responsible, but also states that Boruto is not their primary objective. Their true target is Ida. They decide to split up and begin searching, but before the plan can be carried out, one Mamushi is instantly taken out by a black rod that appears without warning. That's when Kawaki enters the battlefield. His presence alone exerts overwhelming pressure as he effortlessly eliminates the first Mamushi. The remaining enemies immediately recognize him, and the situation shifts dramatically, signaling the start of a far more dangerous phase of combat. Kawaki delivers a brief, direct report, declaring that the Mamushi extermination operation in Area C has officially begun. Almost instantly, the creatures begin multiplying again, shouting orders to eliminate the pests at once. Without hesitation, the Mamushi swarm toward Kawaki. However, something catches his attention. Mamushi are capable of flight, a detail he hadn't anticipated. Even so, their attacks prove completely ineffective. Before they can even close the distance, Kawaki strikes first. With overwhelming speed and power, he tears through 2 Mamushi using his claws, destroying them in mere seconds. They don't even have time to react. The assaults continue as their numbers grow, making it seem like Kawaki is about to be surrounded. But before that can happen, black rods pierce through their bodies once again, making one thing painfully clear: Kawaki is nearly impossible for them to defeat. A striking moment follows when Kawaki forms a black rod far larger than any before. Without hesitation, he drives it straight through 3 Mamushi at once, erasing them in a single, fluid motion. His power is displayed without restraint. The Kawaki who was once mocked and underestimated no longer exists. The battle continues, but the outcome remains unchanged. Kawaki completely dominates the battlefield, eliminating 4 more enemies in an instant without giving them any chance to fight back. Seeing this, Shikamaru issues a brief confirmation. Kawaki has completed his mission successfully, and the extermination operation in the northern area is officially concluded. Elsewhere, the Mamushi begin to realize something is deeply wrong. They exchange confused remarks, unable to understand how their numbers keep dwindling despite fully concealing their chakra. Suspicion grows that their movements are being read. One of them quickly dismisses the concern, insisting that numbers don't matter. They can continue creating new Mamushi and dispersing them gradually. Their plan shifts toward flooding Konoha's defenses with decoys to overwhelm and confuse the enemy. Before the invasion progresses any further, attention returns to the interrogation room. Lord Kobu explains the investigation results regarding the sealing restraints that previously bound Boruto. A thorough inspection confirms there was no mechanical failure or system anomaly. In other words, the restraints could not have come undone naturally during an attack. The only logical conclusion is that someone intentionally released Boruto. This leads to a critical issue: the 4-digit release code, and how Mitsuki could have known it without authorization. Meanwhile, Konohamaru appears visibly uneasy as the situation grows more complicated. He knows only 3 people were aware of that code: himself, 1 other individual, and the 8th Hokage. If Mitsuki is found guilty, it would only be a matter of time before the 8th Hokage's involvement comes to light. Lost in thought, Konohamaru is approached by a guard who asks why he's still there, since he was already cleared to leave. Maintaining a casual tone, Konohamaru claims he forgot to relay something important to Lord Kobu and asks permission to re-enter. The request clearly catches the guard off guard. Elsewhere in the village, Sai remains linked to the sensory unit. He receives reports of a suspicious individual inside Konoha who resembles Shinju. There are also confirmed sightings of Boruto, now officially labeled a traitor. Without hesitation, Sai requests a direct line to the 8th Hokage. The call connects to Shikamaru, who continues overseeing the operation. He instructs Kawaki to stay alert in southern area, the village's central zone, and be ready to mobilize at any moment. Shortly after, Sai delivers urgent news. There is a high probability that Shinju has infiltrated Konoha. Shikamaru briefly asks Sai to hold due to another incoming call, but quickly returns to hear the full report. Sai clarifies that not only has Shinju been detected, but Boruto has also been sighted within the village. However, sensor data remains unclear, as no chakra signatures have been detected. The Konoha police have already been dispatched to the reported location. Hearing this, Shikamaru orders Sai to continue providing updates and prepare for an emergency response. He then issues a crucial command. Mitsuki is to be released immediately. Sai hesitates, knowing Lord Kobu will not accept that decision easily. Still, Shikamaru stands firm, stating that this is an emergency order issued directly by the 8th Hokage. Meanwhile, the Mamushi continue their relentless hunt for Ida. The people of Konoha finally notice something strange moving across the rooftops, sparking confusion, panic, and growing suspicion. The Mamushi stop hiding altogether, openly calling out to anyone they encounter and demanding Ida's location. Inogen, watching the situation unfold, realizes just how bad things have become. The number of Mamushi has skyrocketed, nearly reaching 50 in a very short time. Their strategy is obvious: overwhelm Konoha with sheer numbers, forcing the village's defenses to crack even if their positions are exposed. The scene then shifts to Shikadai, Chocho, and Himawari, who are moving at high speed. Shikadai warns the others that enemies are nearby. From afar, Shikamaru adjusts the plan and contacts Boruto directly. The Mamushi have spread throughout Area D in the southern sector, and Boruto is ordered to flank them from the south together with Team 10. Boruto, who has been cutting down Mamushi effortlessly, immediately acknowledges the command without hesitation. Back in the interrogation room, Lord Kobu presses Mitsuki for an answer to the key question: how did he know the 4-digit release code? Before Mitsuki can respond, Konohamaru suddenly re-enters the room, catching everyone off guard. Calm and polite, he apologizes for returning unannounced. Kobu questions why he is back, since their business should already be finished. Konohamaru then admits something unexpected. There was an important detail he had failed to mention earlier, something difficult to confess. Regarding Boruto's restraints, Konohamaru reveals that he never properly activated the locking system in the first place. The mistake, he says, was entirely his. This revelation shocks Lord Kobu. Konohamaru explains further, Boruto's cuffs were never truly locked, and the release code was never enabled. Given that, it makes perfect sense that the restraints came loose during the earlier chaos. At the same time, Mitsuki communicates with Konohamaru telepathically, demanding to know what he is really doing. Konohamaru calmly responds. He already knows that Mitsuki was the one who freed Boruto. The conversation grows heavier. Konohamaru admits that he is aware the release code originally came from the 8th Hokage. If that truth were ever exposed publicly, the worst-case scenario would be the Hokage being stripped of their position. It is a risk that simply cannot be allowed, especially now, when Oja desperately needs their leadership. His words reignite Sai's suspicion toward Konohamaru, but Kobu remains unconvinced. With a sharp, mocking tone, he accuses Konohamaru of being a skilled liar and suggests he is clearly protecting someone. Konohamaru, visibly tense, denies it outright, insisting that he is covering for no one. Kobu abruptly ends the discussion. He orders that the Hokage be brought in next. It is now time for the most important figure to be questioned. At the same time, he openly displays his personal disdain. While acknowledging that the Hokage was only doing their duty, Kobu makes it clear that he finds them deeply irritating. After that tense exchange, the focus shifts back to the Mamushi. Their presence continues to freeze everyone nearby in place. One Mamushi calmly observes the area, noting that roughly 70 pairs of eyes are watching, but one crucial presence is missing. Ida is not there. With that realization, the Mamushi decide to keep pushing forward. Then, out of nowhere, a major surprise unfolds. Himawari makes a dramatic entrance, launching a sudden kick straight at a Mamushi, an attack no one saw coming. The Mamushi is caught off guard but quickly creates 2 clones that counterattack. Himawari swiftly retreats, realizing something important in the process. It is now clear that she can consciously control her base transformation, the same form she first displayed during her fight with Yura. This confirms that her training with Kurama has truly paid off, even if the full extent of her power remains unknown. Shasho quickly checks on her, and Himawari reassures him that she is fine. Moments later, Shikadai takes action. He unleashes a shadow-based net technique, spreading his shadows wide as they chase down and bind the Mamushi. The shadows pull tight, yanking them violently as if they were fish caught on a line, before slamming them into the ground. In the next instant, Sho charges in, striking with full force to finish them off one by one. On a personal level, watching Kawaki and Boruto eliminate Mamushi is undeniably satisfying, especially with karma involved, making their victories feel natural and expected. What truly stands out, however, is the teamwork between Shikadai, Shasho, and Himawari, who managed to take down multiple Mamushi at once. It feels slightly off, considering that each Mamushi clone should possess equal strength. Their defeat only really makes sense if the Mamushi were overconfident and let their guard down. Meanwhile, Inajin looks almost thrilled. From his perspective, everything is going smoothly, and the situation feels well under control. Kashin Koji, on the other hand, is far from pleased. His expression carries a dark, uneasy weight as the chapter draws to a close. Even though the Mamushi numbers have been reduced through everyone's combined efforts, Kashin Koji is clearly dissatisfied with how things are unfolding. Overall, this chapter is nothing short of incredible. Kawaki and Boruto fully showcase just how absurd their current power levels are. The most shocking development, however, is Boruto's stance regarding Momoshiki. He genuinely seems prepared to let Momoshiki roam free after dealing with Yura, believing that Kawaki will eventually be strong enough to finish him off. Honestly, that decision feels extremely dangerous. Hopefully, Boruto has a hidden plan, because without one, this choice borders on reckless. Another intriguing point is Boruto's use of the BYAKUGAN. For now, that is as far as it goes. There is still no sign of the Jugan, though its appearance cannot be completely ruled out yet. And while Kawaki's power has grown tremendously, there is still serious doubt over whether he can truly defeat Momoshiki if he fully takes control of Boruto's body. That battle, when it comes, is guaranteed to be brutal and incredibly complex. The biggest question left hanging at the end of this arc is the source of Kashin Koji's unease. It's possible that the future unfolding in front of him is nothing like the one he once foresaw. Mamushi may be acting far beyond his calculations, throwing the timeline off balance and turning what should have been a clear path into something uncertain and unstable. Because of that, Kashin Koji seems to be wrestling with doubt, questioning whether this entire plan can truly succeed as intended. At first glance, Shikamaru and the other ninja appear to have the upper hand. However, Kobu could easily become the wild card that ruins everything. His insistence on interrogating Shikamaru is extremely risky, considering Shikamaru is the core strategist holding this operation together. If he's removed from command, the carefully constructed plan could collapse and spiral into chaos. What makes the situation even more alarming is Sai's apparent support for Kobu's actions. The hope now is that Sai will eventually realize that Shikamaru's judgment is the most sound option, and choose to stand on the right side before it's too late. Thanks a lot for staying with me till the end. If you have any questions or ideas, write them down below. See you in the next one.